Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This episode is brought to you by KPMG. At KPMG, innovation is the go-to state of mind. Their visionary thinkers and advanced technology help you see beyond the now, uncover new insights, and turn them into opportunities. KPMG can help you leverage the value of data and drive transformational outcomes through innovation. To explore their thinking, go to kpmg.us.
At Sea Cuisine, our chefs expertly craft and elevate our seafood. And why do they do this? So when this happens,
let's make something quick. We have to be there by 6.
Or when this happens,
leave dinner to me tonight. I'll make it something special.
You can make a restaurant-quality meal in less than 30 minutes. Our teriyaki sesame salmon, honey chipotle salmon, and garlic and herb tilapia will help you step up dinner tonight. Sea Cuisine.
Fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
As always. And we are on King of the Hill Season 1, Episode 7, Westie Side Story.
Yeah, this is a great episode, too. So
it is a good episode, yeah.
So before we dive into the episode, I'll give a little background on some of the people that wrote it or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So let me look these guys' names up real fast. I couldn't remember their names off the top of my head.
This is one of those episodes that kind of proves the thing that we've talked about before about Hank not being inherently racist.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
This is one of those where you kind of explore it with not just him, but with the entire neighborhood as well, because they're all kind of like standoffish about the Suffer-Newsom phones.
It's not that they're racist about anything, and they certainly don't come at it from that angle, but they just don't know things. Like they don't understand where people are from, and they ask these questions, and I guess people could take them as racist or whatever, but it's not. It's just lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. You got to think Hank's probably, barely left.
Yeah.
Left probably 3 counties that he lives in.
Exactly. I don't think he's ever left Arlen.
The Tri-County area, as he always said. The Tri-County area. So this was written by 2 guys.
By the way, before you do that, there's a guy on TikTok that does like the most spot on Hank voice.
I know. I'm going to try to I'm going to add because I'm okay, everybody. I created an Instagram for the podcast over the weekend. So it's BWAAA KOTH. So that'd be where you'll be able to find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that username is going to be social media wide once I get it all created, but you'll be able to find us 3 A's. You'll be able to find us on Instagram right now, but eventually you'll be able to find us on TikTok, maybe even Snapchat, maybe a few different places I'm going to try stuff out at.
No, you like I was telling you before we started, you were very busy this weekend. You made a lot of memes.
Yeah, I was sitting there playing around with it just to see, what kind of what I could generate. I'm pretty decent with social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, I helped him moderate a Facebook page of 10,000 people that he created. I kind of didn't create it, but I was there with him at the formation of it. So that's a sports meme page. So
memes.
I'm pretty heavy in the meme world. So
hardly knew him.
This this was written by a guy named Jonathan Abel and Glenn Berger.
Okay.
Now, they are famous, highly famous, for the Kung Fu Panda series.
Really?
These guys did the Kung Fu Panda series. Not only did they do that, they did the Troll movies, too.
Oh, wow.
So these guys are prolific, I guess, in animated the animated realm, because Kung Fu Panda was huge with Jack Black.
Kung Fu Panda was huge. That first one was gigantic, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we opened this one with the boys sitting on the riding lawnmowers.
Yeah, it looks like a lawnmower commercial. That's one of the ones I've already taken it out. I'm going to either do a beer commercial or a lawnmower commercial.
Yeah, you could do both, honestly.
Yeah.
Just do a don't mow and drive.
Yeah, that would be funny. Don't mow and
drink
drive
and mow.
PCA. Yeah, don't drink and mow.
So they're all sitting there and they're just kind of yipping each other, drinking their beer on their lawnmowers, and moving truck comes around.
Yep, budget movers.
And they start unloading, and these guys are like, oh, good, we got new neighbors. You know, everybody's kind of excited because they got the new neighbors, and they see these two guys moving stuff off of the budget movers truck, and they start to speculating. Want to know if, hey, that boy, if he handles those cardboard boxes, or if he handles the football the way he handles those cardboard boxes, you know, Arlen High has got himself a new tight end. And then Bill wants to know if the dad is a good bowler. He looks like a good bowler.
Yeah, he looks like a good bowler.
He looks like a good bowler.
He's lifting with his knees.
That's right. Yeah, maybe he needs someone to bowl with. Poor Bill. He's always just looking for a friend. That's it.
He is.
He just wants a friend.
And it's really funny. In some episodes, how they treat him, you'll see him sitting at like the kids' table eating with all the kids and stuff. Yeah.
So the boys wander over, and they're going to meet these new neighbors, and they find out that these are just the movers. Another car pulls up, a little station wagon, and
because he asks, he says, "Well, what brings you to Arlen?" He goes, "Well, this family hired us to move their stuff," and it was Mike Judge's voice. You could hear his voice there. Yeah.
And then the station wagon pulls up. The Susanuzophones, which we don't know that's their name yet, but they get out.
Yeah.
They've got their little Westie dog. It's Con, his wife Min, and his daughter Con Jr.
Con Jr.,
which is not usually passed down to a girl. But
no,
hey,
well,
you know.
Bobby ends up asking her later on why she's called Con Jr., and it says, because my dad wanted a boy, and he goes, mine too. Yeah, like he's not a boy. Yeah, he's a disappointed one, though.
So the boys start talking to each other, and, I'll be damned. They look Japanese. No, I think they're Chinese.
That scene's really funny, though, right there. That scene where they're all like, their mouths open and they're like, oh gosh. And then you see a cigarette fall out of Dale's mouth, and then out of nowhere, thin air, he pulls out another lit cigarette.
That's why you think these guys are racist to begin with. It's funny the way that they approach this, because you're like, oh no, these white guys are seeing these Asian folks pull up, and they're, the cigarette falls out of his mouth, and they've all got their mouths wide open and stuff, and then they start speculating as to whether they're Japanese or Chinese.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why a lot of fans say that this is probably Arlen's probably closer to the Houston area than Dallas, because there's a lot of there's a huge Southeast Asian community in Houston, the Houston area. So that was another fan thing.
So they don't. Again, lots of speculation here. But Hank, one of the things he says is, well, a neighbor's a neighbor, and he goes up to Con and actually says something like, you're my neighbor, so you're my friend. Automatically, Hank doesn't care. It's just
he goes, well, a neighbor's a neighbor. Yeah,
that's right.
And he strolls over there.
And so he introduces himself. It means I'm your neighbor, and that means you're my friend. And Hank starts talking to Con, and Con introduces himself as Con Susanuzaphone, and I'm probably not saying that right. But then Hank's like, so you pronounce that Con,
Yeah, so you
not the last name. He's going to skip right over the last name, and he says, are you Chinese or Japanese? So, well, I live in California the last 20 years, but from Laos.
Yeah. Wheelie Ocean.
And, of course, Bill, my favorite part. What ocean? The ocean? What? So he thinks he's from the ocean. No, Con has to inform them that it's a landlocked country in Southeast Asia between Vietnam and Thailand. Population 4.7 million. And he goes through all this explanation, and the boys still are like, so
are you Chinese?
Chinese or Japanese?
Well, that's the cool thing about like having the Laotian family is I don't think there's any other Laotian representation in television.
Right.
But not only that, it was cool because around this time frame, everything's just white on TV at this time frame.
It's true.
And you don't have any you'll have pop-up characters.
Even the Simpsons, though they're yellow, you still see them kind of as a white family.
Absolutely.
I would think.
And well, I guess the Simpsons is kind of different on this part because they did have different cultures inside of it. But as far as like a regular character that you see, you see Khan in a majority of episodes after this. He's in a lot of them. Whether you see him for 5 seconds or you see him for the whole episode
Khan's
being
a huge part
based
of this.
around him. It's really cool to have that. You wouldn't think it would be from a show that's targeting, for lack of a better term, rednecks. It's a show that's like targeting this kind of demographic, and then you have this beautiful Laotian family mixed in.
So then we go to Peggy.
Oh, gosh.
And Peggy says, it's like we get to travel to the Orient without having to worry about diarrhea or being jailed for our pro-democracy beliefs. So she's gonna invite them to dinner. First, Luann has to say, they teach us at the academy that people aren't black, white, yellow, or red, but their hair can be. Yeah. So she's gonna go over and introduce herself and get them
the famous 3 words that Peggy Hill always says. I read somewhere.
Yeah, I read somewhere.
That kills me every time she says it because it means that she saw an article and she's gonna twist it to whatever she wants it to mean.
She says, I read somewhere that the Chinese language has 72 words for rice, but no word for friend. Which is just bullshit.
Yeah, it's just her just rambling.
So then we kind of cut to Khan and his family, and Khan is like, can you believe this crap? You want to live in this country? Howdy, 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 howdy. That's so whenever I hear him say that, I always think of the thing in Toy Story, the howdy, 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 when the dinosaurs pretended to be Woody.
And then it's really funny. I really think the battle between Hank and Khan, their little rivalry they have is really, really funny. And this is where you first see the beginning of him. There's so many redneck jokes that come out of Khan that are just hilarious because Hank isn't that stereotype.
No.
And Khan isn't the stereotype that they think, that they, their first preconceived notions are. So that's I love that so much.
Khan, so they invite him to dinner, and then Khan is telling men that he doesn't want to go. He could order a bucket of chicken and watch Hee Haw there. Why go?
Yeah.
And then we find out a little bit of backstory how he has pissed off all their previous neighbors. They were kicked out of Laos. They were kicked out of Anaheim. She just wants to try to get along with the neighbors.
Going to the reboot real fast. Yeah. So the guy that does this voice is a guy named Toby Russ, which is obviously a very white name, a very white guy that does it. So I'm really, I understand the culture of the world and everything the way that it is today, but I really don't think that this show is not, if they don't have Khan represented in this show whatsoever, I feel like, I know it's going to be hard to have a different voice actor because I know they're going to want a Laotian voice actor or maybe even just a Southeast Asian voice actor to cover that. But I think that, I don't know, I think it should, this show never was negative, I feel like, in a whole sense of negativity towards the stereotype.
No.
I don't feel like that because you could make arguments for Apu on The Simpsons and things like that, but I don't think you could really make the same argument for this because I don't think it was poor. I don't think there was any poor representation.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a dinner with all of them now, and Hank, of course, they come over to Hank's house, and Khan says something about his house being really nice, damn fine. And Hank says, lead-free since 1988. Which I found very funny.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that there was still lead and stuff in 1988.
Oh, sure there was.
That's insane. Yeah. Well, there was a study that was done that they say the reason why they say that the whole IQ of people between a certain time period of lead paint up until the ending of lead paint, there's a significant drop in IQ.
Oh, sure. I would imagine.
In that generation of lead paint.
I've known some kids who ate some lead paint.
Yeah.
All right, so this is basically a big welcome dinner, and of course Peggy has gone way over the top, and she's asking everybody to take their shoes off, and Con's like, why? You just shampoo the carpet?
Yeah.
And so...
I think it's funny how she introduces, too. She goes, on behalf of Arlen, Texas, I would like to welcome you to our country. Right. When he said he lived in California for 20 years. So.
Peggy has served on beef chop suey. And they're like, I've never had beef chop suey. She's like, oh, you poor dear.
Yeah, and then Hank starts shoveling his food into Bobby's plate. Come on, Bobby, have some seconds. The girl's lapping you.
And Peggy says, I read somewhere that certain parts of China, meat is as scarce as toilet paper.
Yeah, where you read that? She said, who can remember? As a substitute teacher, I have to review all sorts of learning materials.
Or maybe it was on a placemat.
Yeah.
So she brings up the fact that she's a teacher, and Con's like, well, maybe you can tell me why Arlen test scores are so low. And he says that he knows why. It's because Con Jr.'s not in school yet.
Yeah, to bring up the average. Yeah,
got to bring up the average. My boy here might not be the best test taker, but he's got near perfect attendance.
Near. Not even perfect, just
tell
near.
Him, Bobby. Tell him. What's he going to tell him?
What's he going to tell him?
Tell him, Bobby.
Tell him, Bobby.
And then
that's a dick wagging contest at this point.
Oh yeah. And then the Brown Betty. So they've had the Brown Betty,
the famous, closely guarded family secret from mother to mother to mother.
She can't tell her anything. She goes, here, you can take some of these leftovers with you. Just reheat it for 10 minutes. Oh, I've already said too much. So she takes the Brown Betty with her. And then on their way out, Min notices Peggy's shoes.
Oh yeah, before that too, she goes, well, welcome back now, you hear? And she says, that's Texas for sayonara.
And so Min notices the giant shoes, kind of makes fun of them, puts on the shoes and says she's like little girl in mama's shoes, stomping around in Peggy's gigantic shoes. And, of course, Peg, she's always embarrassed whenever somebody notices her giant feet.
Yeah, she's touchy about the feet for sure, especially before the OnlyFans episode.
Yes. So, the OnlyFans episode, before there were OnlyFans. They leave, and, of course, Hank has to kind of, reassure Peggy that there's just more of her to love. And that was not the right thing to say.
No, that was even worse, yeah.
So we catch him outside, and now the little Westie dog.
Hold on. Before that, there was a funny part that I wanted to. He said when she said you don't come into a woman's home and insult her feet, you just don't do that. Yeah. And he goes, well, come on, Peg. Remember when you first moved here from Montana? You called Pop Sody Pop, and you thought 93 in the shade was hot.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we see him outside with the dogs. They got the little Westie dog out. And Hank says, be careful, Bobby. That's one of them Chinese fighting dogs.
Yeah. And he goes, it's a West Highland Terrier. And this is real funny. This reminds me of the comedy routine where they hire somebody named You or something like that.
Oh,
and they go back and forth.
It's almost like a Who's on First kind of thing.
Yeah. Who's on First? That one, yeah.
She's
it's like a Leslie Nielsen bit.
Chinese fighting dog. She goes, it's a West Highland Terrier. He goes, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's a Chinese fighting dog. But he asked the name of the dog, Con Jr. What's the name of your dog? That's Doggy. Yes, I understand it's a doggy, but what's his name? And he goes, that's a doggy also, pointing to Lady Bird.
Yeah, but her name is Lady Bird. She's a pure Georgia bloodhound. Her mama tracked down James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray, which is the best. And
then he goes, aren't kids great? They're too young to know about fear or prejudice.
That's right. They don't have to learn that till high school.
Yeah, they don't have to learn that till high school. Yeah, that's great.
So Lady Bird and Doggy start to have relations.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
as it were. And they're real worried. Hank's real worried about his bloodhound getting impure from this Chinese fighting dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Con thinks it's hilarious, though, and calls Lady Bird a slut.
Calls her a slut. Lady Bird is not a slut. She's in heat.
That's
her
right.
Hormones have overwhelmed her natural modesty.
Natural modesty. So he asks him to type his dog. He says, I'm not tying up my dog. You type your dog. Is she seduced my dog? There's a lot of seduction, a lot of modesty.
And then he goes, that's ridiculous. Ladybird could only love another purebred Georgia bloodhound.
You know what, Hank? I think you're a narrow-minded redneck, says Con.
Yep.
And that really sets him off.
Well, it's really funny because he goes, because I'm from Texas, I got to be some kind of redneck. And as he's walking off, he goes, the Chinese and their stupid stereotypes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So everybody's pissed off at each other now, and they're moving on. Then we see Con drive by in his on his lawnmower, and it's obviously not a Kubota. It's not a John Deere. It's not one of the ones that you would think that these guys from Texas have. And everybody gives Hank a little bit of a ribbing and says maybe he'll let you borrow his sexy little import.
Yeah, and then Hank said, I'd rather cut my entire quarter acre with a Lady Bic before I'd borrow that man's mower.
Yeah, and this is where he kind of goes off on a thing. You know, he says, I don't like the man. And they start questioning him, you know, because he's Chinese.
Because he's Chinese?
He said, no, I just don't like the man.
Yeah.
You know, it's not because he's Chinese or anything. He goes, I thought he was Korean, number one. But,
yeah, well, what the hell's the difference? I don't like the man.
I just don't like the man. Yeah, it has nothing to do with where he's from. I'm no redneck. He could be from Mars for all I care. He just doesn't like him.
And then someone said, believe me, Hank, if Con were from Mars, you'd care. Especially after he's stolen every last drop of Earth's drinkable water to transport back to his home planet Mars.
Yeah.
Old Dale.
So Peggy and Luann are going to pick up a pizza. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she's yelling at Luann to stop dawdling because they have to pick up the pizza before the cheese gets cold and the pineapple gets hot.
And then Luann says, "What's the rush? If we're not there in 30 minutes, it's free." Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that before. That's a deal I never heard of.
Yeah, that's a good deal, man. I just wait 35 minutes and go get my free pizza.
Yeah, I'd sit outside and look at the clock. Oh, 31 minutes.
31 minutes, got to go get it. So Min stops them out in the street and apologizes for talking about her big feet. Says they got off to a bad start and they should come to a barbecue that her and Con are having. And Peggy thinks that's very sweet, and she wants her to let her know if she needs any help with the barbecue or if she just wants to know what a barbecue is.
Yeah.
So they finally go. Hank, of course, takes a canister of propane.
Yep,
with him.
Absolutely.
And he presents it to Con. You know, here's your propane, and Con does not. He doesn't want the propane. He cooks with charcoal, and so finally he cooks with mesquite. Excuse me, he cooks with mesquite, not charcoal.
Yeah, I cook with. It says give meat nice taste of wood.
Right.
And I cook with propane. Gives meat nice taste of meat.
And so the two ladies can finally calm them down, and Con says, all right, just put it on the table. It can hold the napkins down.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rough. But anyway, they're talking about how, the ladies want the guys to get along because they do live next to each other. And I mean, I understand.
Looking to start a business? You'll need a registered agent to receive legal notices and documents on your behalf. Look no further than Universal Registered Agents. Our team of professionals will ensure you never miss an important document, and we can even help you form your business with services like entity formation and document filing. Plus, we'll help you switch to our service for a lower cost and pay the change fees. Trust Universal Registered Agents to help your business succeed. Contact us today to learn more.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At Sea Cuisine, our chefs expertly craft and elevate our seafood. And why do they do this? So when this happens...
Let's make something quick. We have to be there by 6.
Or when this happens.
Leave dinner to me tonight. I'll make it something special.
You can make a restaurant-quality meal in less than 30 minutes. Our teriyaki sesame salmon, honey chipotle salmon, and garlic and herb tilapia will help you step up dinner tonight. Sea Cuisine.
And then we go back to the kids with the dogs.
Which is also like a pre-indicator of the relationship between Khan and Bobby Hill, which I personally hope continues on in the reboot, and I hope that they are married with children at this point.
I do too. I think it'd be cool.
I think it would be cool to have, especially in today's world, with everything being as intercultural and everything like that. I think it would be neat to have expanded on their relationship and turn them into. I just can't wait for the reboot. The thing that's killing me is that there's nothing being whispered.
No information.
There's nothing whatsoever, and I know that's by design.
I would rather
it's like
have
nails
it
on a chalkboard.
I would definitely rather have it that way though, because I think previews and
it ruins your expectations.
It's too many spoilers these days.
Well, it's not even the spoilers for me because I don't really care about spoilers. Spoilers never bother me. You can tell me about a whole movie; it's still not the same as going and watching it to me. But the thing that kills me is it changes your expectation. You see all these cool little snippets, and then you actually sit down and watch it. It's like with movie previews. You go and watch the movie preview, and then you sit and watch the movie, and all the good parts are in the preview. The rest of the movie's crap. You know what I mean? So I
just feel like if Sixth Sense were made today, we would in the trailer find out that Bruce Willis was a ghost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, they're talking about the dogs and how one of them's tied up, and Khan Jr. says, "Doggy's just like me. He's new in town, doesn't have any friends. We should untie him so that they can be friends, so that they can play."
Yeah, then Bobby said he'd chew through the leash.
One of my
he
favorites.
says, "I bet it tastes just like a Bible cover."
Tastes like a Bible cover. That's right. So they let him go.
This one too that he says is one of my favorites. He goes, "Hey, let's untie him. They belong together, and it's fun to watch them play piggyback." The innocence of children.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we go back to Peggy and Min, and Min is just going over the top to try to compliment Peggy because she knows she's kind of offended her.
Well, it's really funny though, between Min, Peggy, and Nancy. I mean, they could have their own offshoot TV show. You could have. I thought it would always be funny. I always thought about this after these shows started coming out. The Real Housewives show. I always thought the Real Housewives of Arlen would be hilarious.
Yeah, I would love that. So she's going over kind of the top, complimenting Peggy because she doesn't want her to think she's mad at her. She talks about how men are stupid and women are smart and how they need to stick together. And then she says, "Look, I made your Brown Betty."
Yeah.
Now, Peggy does not take well to that because she wants to know where she got her grandma's recipe. And Khan says, or Min says she figured it out by herself.
Yeah, she reverse engineered it, and she goes that your recipe was missing one thing. Flavor.
I beg your pee, she says.
Yeah. I add flavor. Nutmeg. Tastes
flavor.
Much better, don't you think?
Nutmeg flavor. So they try the Brown Betty, and Hank says, "To be honest, I've always had trouble keeping your Brown Betty down, but this is pure heaven."
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's terrible because that's her. Imagine your husband of X amount of years looks at you and says, "Well, damn, I was only stomaching it. This one right here, though, I could eat this all day. That's terrible." And then now you get them all standing over the grill, and it reminds me of that the episode where he's watching the steak guys, the guys flip steaks.
Yeah.
So they're all sitting there sweating. All the boys are telling him, "Oh, you might want to flip them," and he keeps saying, "Too soon. Those burgers look done." "Nope, not yet. You might want to turn them." "Nope, please go away." And then they just
Please, Con, you're burning them.
Yeah, you're burning them. There's too much char.
Too much char.
"Shut mouth, open mouth," and he just slams the burger into Hank's mouth. And then that's the best burger I've ever had.
Yeah, that's
which is awesome. Which is awesome. Yeah,
that's an existential crisis for.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Well, because that's not the only crisis he has with charcoal or wood. He has other run-ins with it where he eats a burger that's better on wood, and I think that's the funniest thing ever because I believe that he thinks charcoal is better for taste, but he's a propane salesman. What the hell would it look like a propane salesman when you drive through the alleyway and see him cooking on charcoal? I think it's a lot of optics for him on the propane. I don't think
absolutely.
I don't think he truly enjoys tasting the meat over the flavor of smoke.
Taste the meat, not the heat.
Not the heat.
So they just keep talking about how everybody's so different, and this is where you get the Bobby quote about his dad wanting a boy.
Yeah, my father wanted a boy. Well, yeah, so did mine. Yeah, which is funny because Bobby is a boy, but he is definitely not the traditional masculine version of what Hank envisioned having a son as, which I think is funny because his dad was so toxic with him as far as toxic masculinity goes that Hank has to swallow his feelings, and now you have Bobby who is completely reverse of that, who wears his heart on his sleeve kind of thing.
So Bobby and Con Jr. are talking, and she says they're talking about how lame their dads are.
Oh, yeah.
And she says something about her dad makes her practice violin 5 hours a day. Of course, Bobby's retort to that is, my dad won't let me watch TV more than 5 hours a day.
Yeah, and then
5 hours of TV.
And then Con Jr., she says, well, my dad's making me memorize. He's such an autocrat. And then they start talking about the SAT and how it's an SAT word. And what's an SAT? Bobby didn't even have a clue.
Yeah. But Hank is kind of enthralled with these folks now.
Yeah, he is.
He says, Peggy, there's nothing these people can't make better.
Yeah.
First the automobile, then the color TV, and now the hamburger.
It's funny how he says hamburger too. I noticed he said it real funny. It was like hamburger or something. It was just a weird inflection in his voice when he said that.
How do they do it? With a dash of nutmeg. Peggy is really pissed off about this Brown Betty at this point.
She's super pissed. Yeah, she doesn't understand it.
Any man who can make a burger like that's okay by me, he says. So really it all comes down to burgers, cooking, mowing yards, all of that. If
you could do all those things, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Hank likes you. And there is other episodes that there was an episode where Bernie Mac is the guest on it, where they discuss the race issue again because Lady Bird goes nuts on the repair guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they're like, well, usually a dog, if the owner's racist, the dog's usually racist too. When it had nothing to do with the race, it was the fact that it was a handyman inside of his house that was bugging him, not the fact that the guy was black or whatever. I thought that was neat. So you get here, the boys are walking away fat and full from the yard over there, and
they're talking about the burger.
Yeah. Any man who can make a burger like that is okay by me. And then you said it. Bill goes, it was so good, it's almost a shame to lose it to the process of digestion. And then you get a Boomhauer quip. You go, I tell you what, the dang old onion soup powder, man, just put a little bit of that. You don't need no grilled onions.
Yeah, and then
Dale, the conspiracy theorist,
Dale brings up the fact that he thinks it's a dog.
Yeah, he goes, well, how many, how about you, Dale? How many you got underneath your belt? 0. He goes, how come? He pulls up that leash. He goes, I don't eat dog.
Yeah. Okay, here are the facts. I see them. Con served you dog. Con did not serve us dog. That's just an awful stereotype. Chinese people don't really do that.
And again,
I don't know.
Laotian, but
yeah, they're really convinced that they're eating dog now.
And then the quote was, anyone crazy enough to put nutmeg in Brown Betty, well, they'd be crazy enough to do anything.
That's right. Even if they did feed us dog, who are we? Who are we to judge other cultures? Maybe they're onto something. Who are we to judge other cultures? Maybe they're onto something. They did invent paper, Paper. So, they're really worried about the fact that they probably got some dog.
Yeah, and then would you eat? A dog is a man's best friend. Would you eat your best friend? Of course not. And then I think it's Dale. He goes, are we talking about some kind of lifeboat situation here? I don't want to paint myself into a corner.
That's a whole like somebody's going to hold him to it. Don't eat that friend. But anyway, they talk about it's chopped meat, not chopped dog.
Dog is meat.
Dog is meat.
You said it, friend.
You said it, friend. So you see Bill just licking his fingers, and he goes, I'm just trying to get that awful taste off my fingers.
Yeah, and then Peggy walks up to, go over to the Supernusophone's house, and she overhears men through the window talking on the phone, and she's talking to the dog pound.
Right.
And she said, I'm looking for a dog, and all they could hear is just these little bits of the conversation. She's like, sweet dog. Yeah. Have big barbecue today. Dog run out. Yeah. I need 20, 25 pounds. And then, good Lord, it's true. I'll call you back. And then she runs to Hank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't hear you over my weed whacker.
Yeah, he's standing in the doorway or whatever. Well, I can't hear you over my weed whacker. He starts it up or whatever as he's talking, and then he's just kind of like kind of lost a little bit and swings the weed eater, knocks all their chrysanthemums.
He kills all their chrysanthemums. Yeah. And now Crazy Redneck has chopped down all their chrysanthemums.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not a great thing. We go back to the kids who are really the innocent parties here, and they're talking about riding bikes and stuff, and now they're going to go looking for Doggy.
Using they know that Lady Bird's the bloodhound, so they say, all right, well, we'll let her go. And it's kind of funny right here because Lady Bird's stronger than Bobby can contain.
Oh, yeah.
So she yanks Bobby to the ground, and as soon as he hits the ground, boom, he lets go of the leash, and the leash retracts and slaps the dog in the back, and the dogs get scared from that, and she gets to running even faster off. So,
Dale puts in his 2 cents about how dangerous these people are, how they'll get you with a blow dart.
Yeah, they'll get you with a blow dart. You'll think it's just a mosquito bite until you die. Then you'll know the truth.
Then you'll know the truth after you're dead. And you know, this kind of goes on for a little bit about them eating dog.
Eating human meat. They say, well, why would they do that? Human meat's tough and flavorless.
Yeah, and so Khan is pretty pissed off at this point because his dog's missing, his chrysanthemums are gone. The people have now overheard them ordering dog meat, which... Do you pick up the phone and order dog meat? I mean, is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I'll leave that one alone.
They're grappling back and forth. They're talking about the dogs. They finally find both of the dogs. One has gone after the other one, and then they understand or they figure out that maybe it wasn't dog meat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the best hamburger you ever ate, what are you questioning it for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meat's meat at the end of the day, ain't it? I mean, you know, the horses go to the glue factory or they go to the slaughterhouse, you know? They
end up sending both the kids to their rooms as kind of a punishment. Neither one of them, this again is where they talk about, this is that redneck thing coming through. Neither one of them believe in spanking, which you would think in Ireland, spanking would be like a rite of passage.
Well, yeah,
you know?
and again, I'm pretty sure that Hank, when he got spanked, he probably got the hell beat out of him. Yeah. So maybe that's probably why he doesn't do that.
Yeah. And then
I think it's barbaric.
They talk about the spanking, how it's barbaric, and then Khan says, "How about bed with no dessert? That never fails." And then Hank does say something might be construed as a little racist. He says, He says, "Wouldn't figure a child to be motivated by a fortune cookie and an orange slice."
Well, it's kind of funny though, because fortune cookies are American anyway. They're not even Asian. So it's just the Asian culture taking advantage of dumb Americans.
And so now they've kind of realized, you know, the error of both of their ways. And Hank says to Khan, Khan, we may deny our kids completely different desserts, but they both go to bed hungry, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, and he goes, I guess we're not so different after all.
Boy, howdy. So,
well, you know, that's a good thing to relate to is, you know, they both can relate on how they punish their child, so...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And neither one of them are barbaric about it, apparently. And so Hank finally is gonna say, "Hey, you know, welcome to the neighborhood. Khan soup ha news home."
Yeah, he struggles through it trying to do a phonetic.
Just call me Khan. I don't got all damn day.
Yeah.
So they're now at this point. Dale believes that maybe he's been poisoned.
Yeah, absolutely. He thought he was poisoned or whatever. He was asking for the antidote. Give me the antidote. I'm running out of time. And then it pans to, you get the credits roll, and then you get, during the credit roll, you have a little scene, which this is one of my favorite parts of the whole show is this scene right here particularly. So you get Min and Peggy and they're going through. Peggy's cooked all her food, like every famous Peggy recipe, and she's got Min tasting it all. Add nutmeg. Less hot, more spicy. Add nutmeg. Too much Miss Dash.
Well,
add nutmeg.
It was the 5-alarm jambalaya.
Yeah. You want less hot.
It was
more
her
spicy.
granny's. Her granny's 5-alarm jambalaya. And then of course Aunt Laverne's chicken fried chicken.
Yep.
Too much Mrs. Dash. Add nutmeg. And so then she says, "This is my very own rabbit stew."
And she got it real fast too. She's like, "Here's my rabbit stew." So she tastes it before she registers. She says rabbit stew, and then she goes, "Rabbit. You rednecks will eat anything."
You rednecks will eat anything, which is a great comment on the whole thing.
Which is a great comment. Yeah, great ending. Great ending to that episode.
This is one of those where you're introducing a character, which is great, but there's also a story to go along with it. You know?
Absolutely. And it's a
story
story
of
morality.
Just be, it really is a morality story.
It's a moral tale. It just it shows you that no matter where people come from at in the world, I think this is what it shows anyway. No matter where you come from, everybody is going to have some foundational relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Things that they could relate to.
Sure.
And
sending your kids to bed with no supper.
Sending your kids to bed with no supper, you know.
Your dogs
humping
each other,
mowing, barbecuing. So there was all these elements that we already know that Hank is all about. And
it's just people issues. It's not race issues. It's not any of that. It's just neighbors and people getting along with each other.
Yeah, and that's what I think is great about the rivalry between Con and Hank throughout the whole series.
It's the whole series, man. Yeah,
it's just these two guys. You know, they're rivals over their lawns and things like that. And it's always funny that Con always has the edge on Hank.
Yeah,
he always has the edge.
Well, there's a couple episodes where maybe Con goes a little too far.
Oh, absolutely. There's a few of those episodes, and he always blames that on his productive nature. He always blames that on his productive nature.
You know, it would be really easy to have these characters as these wacky next door neighbors and not develop them. But credit to Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, they really do a good job of developing these characters into people.
Absolutely, and that's what made the show. That's why we're still watching it. That's why throughout this social media thing that I started over the weekend, like you see a lot of people that are, you know, younger than I am.
Yeah.
At 30, you know, you've got like 20-year-olds that are watching this show. There's people that are watching this show now that weren't even alive when it aired.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's awesome that it could like transcend generations because it's so relatable still. Even in 2022, it's still a super relatable show to, I mean, it's still your dad, it's still your uncle, you know, the neighbor, it's the neighbors and everything. It still has that real, like, you know, Texas feel, you know, like even today, that's, you know, there's some of those neighborhoods that still feel.
It's super relatable like that, but it doesn't feel like it's isolated to where we live.
No, it's definitely well, and that's the thing is you can go to any suburb in the United States and they're all pretty. I've been to tons of suburbs all over the United States and they're all similar and same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside or if it's
the Ford
6
pickup,
foot of snow. You know, I mean, it's the same thing.
It's the Ford pickup backed in the driveway.
People are people, man. People are people. All right, well, thanks for joining us again for a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I have been Mike,
and I've been Rusty Wimitanye,
and you can check us out. Say the Instagram one more time.
BWAAAKOTH.
There you go. Bois. Check us out there or check us out at roguemedianetwork.com and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Wimitanya.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.